This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutastrophe welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And today's birthday boy is one of the greatest players in NBA history, and he's still alive, which is amazing. His name is Bill Russell. He's 87 years old from Monroe, Louisiana. He is a cultural icon. And of course, the coach he sees his right hour back. Anyway, Bill Russell played center for the Boston Celtics from 1956 to 1969. A five-time NBA MVP, and a 12-time All-Star. He was the centerpiece of the Celtics dynasty that won 11 titles in 13 years, which is amazing. He's tied with Andre Pocket Rocket Richard for the most championships won by athlete in North American Sports League. So he's won 11 NBA titles. Pocket Rockets won 11 in Stanley Cups. Bill Russell led the San Francisco Dons, who aren't really a college basketball powerhouse now, but they used to be, to 2 straight NCAA titles in the 50s, 55 and 56. And he captured the gold for the U.S. team in the 56 Summer Games in Melbourne. A lot of people said he was greatest of all time. 6'10" with a 7'4" wingspan. His shot blocking and man-to-man defense is why the Celtics were dominating throughout his career and all that. But his rebounding abilities were why. He led the NBA in rebounds 4 times, had a dozen consecutive seasons of more than 1,000 rebounds, and is still second in both total rebounds and rebounds per game, which is amazing. Bill Russell was the first black player to achieve special superstar status in the NBA. There were some black players before him, but basically they were just little known. He was even player coach of the Celtics from 66 to 69, and was actually the first black coach in North American professional sports history and part of the Big Four leagues to win a title. Barack Obama awarded Russell the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his accomplishments on the court and in the civil rights movement. He's been inducted to both the Pro and College Basketball Hall of Fame. He was part of the 25th anniversary team, the 35th anniversary team, and the 50th anniversary team. One of only 4 players to get all 3 honors. He was enshrined into the FIBA, or the World Basketball Hall of Fame, in 2007. Bill Russell's MVP name is now on the NBA Finals Most MVP trophy in 2009. I know that didn't sound right, but Bill Russell is now, they honored Bill Russell with the NBA Finals MVP award. Of course, he was born in Monroe, Louisiana, and basically it was segregated and all that, a lot of racism and all that. It just wasn't there. By the time he got 8 years old, they moved to Oakland, California, and basically were in housing projects. Anyway. He was exposed to basketball while being in Oakland. And the funny thing is, Frank Robinson, one of the best baseball players of all time, actually was one of Bill Russell's high school basketball teammates. Russell was basically ignored by college recruiters, probably because of his skin color. But anyway, he didn't receive an offer until someone from the University of San Francisco watched him play in a high school game and said that there might be an instinct. And Bill Russell actually did very well. He was the new center for Phil Wolpert's team, who emphasized defense and deliberate half-court play. Wolpert was not racist or anything. He actually became the first college basketball coach to start 3 black players: Bill Russell, Casey Jones, who would be a teammate of Bill Russell's, and Hal Perry. Basically, so a lot of people, USF, a lot of people say that's the University of South Florida. I get confused by that all the time too. I mean, San Fran's not really a big school, big name school. So you can understand how I get confused and all that. The NCAA actually widened the lanes. You know, the lane that by the basket is short. That basically, when you widen the lane, that means you have to stay. You could get fined for being 3 seconds. Basically, you have, when you're defending someone in the lane, you have to you could only be there for like 2 seconds and then have to step out and all that. And after he graduated, the rules committee instituted another new rule to counter the play of big men. Basketball interference was now prohibited. Basically, goaltending would be called on a lot more occasions and all that. There were no basket interference. I don't know how they would see, how it's said. Well, it's touching the ball or any part of the basket while the ball is on the rim of the basket. Touching the ball which is close to the cylinder and all that. Kind of like goaltending. There were a lot of problems for the San Fran squad because of the blackness and all that. Bill Russell didn't allow himself to be the victim. And he was a star. He led San Fran to 2 NCAA championships in 55 and 56, which was included a string of 55 straight wins. John Wooden, the legendary UCLA coach, said that Bill Russell was the greatest defensive man I've ever seen. And at San Fran, he actually pioneered the alley-oop from Jones to Russell. Russell averaged 20.7 points a game and 20.3 rebounds a game in college. He even was a track and field star and was actually the 7th best high jumper in the world in 1956. It was weird because Bill Russell could have been to the Olympics as a high jumper. He didn't know much about basketball. The Harlem Globetrotters was actually snubbed him, and he was upset. He decided to make himself eligible for the 56 NBA draft. So let's take a look at the 56 NBA draft. All right, so Boston had the first pick. No, Boston had a territorial pick. And Tommy Heinsohn, who just died last year from Holy Cross. So basically, he got drafted. Shugo Green of Duquesne was drafted first overall by Rochester. Second pick was to St. Louis. The St. Louis Hawks, well, the Rochester Royals are now the Sacramento Kings, if you much know. The St. Louis Hawks, now in Atlanta, of course, picked Bill Russell. Second overall, Jim Paxson Sr. went third overall to the Minneapolis Lakers, now the LA Lakers. Hal Lear, who was a great guard with Temple, he was drafted 7th by the Philadelphia Warriors, now in Golden State. Casey Jones was drafted 13th by the Boston Celtics. So Boston ended up getting Russell and Jones together. Elgin Baylor actually, for some reason, he was drafted, but he actually came around to be drafted 58. I don't know. It's kind of confusing as fuck, if you ask me. So anyway, the 56 NBA draft. Boston set its sights on Russell. Unfortunately, it was slim because of the fact that Boston obviously finished second in the previous season. He had slipped too low in the draft order to pick Russell. And Auerbach used his territorial pick to get Tommy Heinsohn. Auerbach knew that Rochester had a good rebounder. And Walter Brown actually contacted the Rochester owner, said that, the Celtics owner actually offered the Rochester owner guaranteed performances at ice skates if they did not draft Russell. So that was kind of weird that he offered ice capade stuff for Rochester not to draft Bill Russell. St. Louis picked second and did draft Russell. But the thing is that St. Louis actually wanted center Ed McCauley, who was a 6-time All-Star and went to the University of St. Louis. So Auerbach decided to trade McCauley, mostly because McCauley wanted to be traded to St. Louis because of his son, if the Hawks give up Russell. However, St. Louis demanded more in the trade. They wanted McCauley and Cliff Hagan. Auerbach agreed, and that was a good trade. It actually worked out for the Hawks because in 1958 they actually beat the Celtics for the title with both Hagan and McCauley. So anyway, that was amazing. The Celtics drafted Bill Russell, Tommy Heinsohn, and Casey Jones. So he was part of, and then after being drafted, he went to the basketball. He went to the 56 Summer Olympics, but they were in November, December because they were in the Southern Hemisphere, and their summer and winter is like 6 months ahead of us. Avery Brundrich, the IOC said that person said Russell signed a professional contract, but and was not an amateur, but Russell prevailed. Anyway, Russell couldn't join the Celtics till December because of the Olympic committee. But he played 48 games for them and did pretty well for themselves. So yeah, it was amazing. All that. But, Russell was huge. And in his first ever season, he got to the NBA Finals against the St. Louis Hawks, who had McCauley, Bob Pettit, and Hagan. It was amazing. So Russell did his job. However, in 1958, the Hawks beat the Celtics for the title. However, Russell had a foot injury and missed a couple of games, so that was kind of the difference. Celtics won the 1959 championship, and then Bill Russell had competition. Will Chamberlain was drafted, and he would be a rookie in 1959. So a lot of times when Russell and Will would face each other, the rest of the world just basically just stopped. I can go on and on and on about the 8 consecutive titles, but basically Bill Russell helped them out. And Red Auerbach actually retired before the 66-67 season. He wanted his old player Frank Ramsey to coach the Celtics, but Ramsey was running nursing homes. His second choice was Bob Cousy, who declined it. Tommy Heinsohn said no, too. And he even said Russell should be player coach, and Russell agreed. He was the first black head coach in NBA history. I wasn't offered the job, he said, because I'm a Negro. I was offered it because I figured I could do it. Unfortunately for Russell, the Celtics would finally lose a playoff series. They lost the Eastern Finals to the Sixers and Will Chamberlain. So basically the 8 straight titles were done for. Russell basically shook Chamberlain's hand in the locker room. Yeah. All that. So anyway, Russell would actually win 2 titles in 68-69 as player coach, which was pretty good for himself. There were a lot of problems with Russell for 69, though. He was shocked about RFK's assassination, disillusioned by the Vietnam War, and he had a stale marriage to his wife. He was convinced the U.S. was corrupt and that he was wasting his time playing something like basketball. This is when he decided to do more civil rights stuff. He was actually 15 pounds overweight. He skipped coach meetings and didn't have energy. All that. However, they pulled through, despite the fact that they only won 48 games and was the worst in 13 years. They were the 4 seed. However, they took care of the Sixers and Knicks to get to the NBA Finals against the Lakers. And luckily, the Celtics won Game 7. So this was huge. Bill Russell decided to leave. because he was tired of it. When the Celtics had their parade, Russell wasn't there. The man who said he owed the public nothing, ended his career and cut all ties to the Celtics. And Red Auerbach was blindsided because he drafted a guard, JoJo White, instead of a center. The Celtics didn't have an all-star center and just basically just crushed. Fans and journalists felt betrayed because Russell left the Celtics without a coach and a center and sold his retirement story for $10,000. Russell was still given the honor of having his number 6 jersey retired by the Celtics in March of '72. Russell had problems with the media, I guess because of the civil rights thing, which is reliable. Bill Russell even was a head coach for the Seattle Sonics from '73 to '77 before Lenny Wilkens came in, and then Sacramento for a year. Wow, I didn't know that. Basically, Russell wasn't much of a coach after that. He had some financial troubles and all that. You know, Russell ended up becoming a vegetarian and worked as a color commentator for basketball broadcasts. He said that basically he was uncomfortable and all that. He made few public appearances in the '90s, basically as a near recluse. But after Chamberlain died in 1999, Russell returned to prominence and all that. And basically, he was the guy who actually told Shaq to bury the hatchet for Kobe. So basically, Russell was getting better and better, and basically got some honorary doctorates, and basically, you know, in 2009, he was given the honor of being the name on the NBA Finals MVP trophy. All that. He is basically a legend and all that. Obviously, you got the freedom medal from the United States. And he's very celebrated. 11 NBA titles as a player in 13 seasons. By winning the NCAA championship and the NBA title back-to-back years, well, 56 NCAA, 57 NBA, he was one of only 4 players in basketball history to do that. Henry Bibby, Magic Johnson, and Billy Thompson. Henry Bibby, though. Well, I know Magic Johnson back. Yeah, Magic Johnson, because 79 Michigan State and 1980 Lakers. Billy Thompson, who did he play for? Billy Thompson played for... I don't know who Billy Thompson played for. Henry Bibby. Henry Bibby played for UCLA. Oh, okay. Yeah. He won Henry Bibby won the '72 NBA title. I mean, the NCAA title for UCLA. And then the next year in '73 was when the Knicks won their second and most recent NBA title. Makes sense to me. And Billy Thompson, Louisville. Okay, so Billy Thompson, Louisville won the '86 NCAA title. He was part of that. And then he was part of the '87 Lakers team that took care of the Celtics in the final. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. He had a lot of basketball IQ and rebounding, and basically Wilt versus Bill will be a legendary matchup forever and ever and ever and ever. In fact, Bill Russell has a rule named from the West Coast Conference, which basically has been held to the University of San Francisco since the league's formation in '52. Said that they were the first Division I conference to adopt a conference-wide diversity hiring commitment, basically meaning that they have to find a pool of candidates for every major position must be a minority. Amazing. So he played 963 games in his NBA career. He would have had 1,000 if it wasn't for the Olympics in '56. And he only averaged 15 points a game, but 22 rebounds a season, which is freaking amazing. In the playoffs, he had 165 playoff serves, and only twice when he was in the playoffs they didn't win. 58 was when they lost in the finals to the Hawks, and 67 was when he lost in the conference finals to the Sixers. As a head coach, even with those 3 years in Boston, he was 341, 290 regular season. In the playoffs, he was 34-27. Not bad. Anyway, he was married to his college sweetheart, Rose, and had 3 children. Unfortunately, they became emotionally distant and divorced. He married a former Miss USA winner, Dorothy Anslet, in 1977. The relationship was in controversy because Anslet was white. Russell married his third wife, Marilyn, but she died in 2009. And Russell married Janine Russell, and he's been part of Mercer Island, Washington, for 4 decades. In 1959, he was actually the first NBA player to visit Africa. So yeah, he had a lot of personality and all that. Dealt with a lot of racist abuse and all that, but he still did pretty good for himself. But Russell and Chamberlain, the great matchup, despite all that, they were close friends. Chamberlain invited Russell over for Thanksgiving dinner and at Russell's place. They considered Russell's electric trains. Unfortunately, the close relationship ended after Game 7 of the 69 NBA Finals when Chamberlain injured his knee and couldn't play out of that. A reporter actually heard Russell describe Chamberlain as a malingerer and accused him of copping out when it seemed the Lakers would lose. Chamberlain was livid and saw him as a backstabber. However, 20 years later, Russell did apologize for his actions and all that. But, Chamberlain was okay with it. Chamberlain even said that Bill Russell should be the second person to be phoned in case Chamberlain died. They'll be friends through eternity. That is fantastic and all of that. Unfortunately, Russell had a lot of problems with the media and with the black culture and all that. He refused to attend his own jersey retirement thing in 1972 and refused to attend his induction to the Hall of Fame in 75. November 2019, he did accept the Hall of Fame ring in a private ceremony and actually visited the city recently. When Russell retired, he wanted the jersey to be retired in an empty Boston Garden. But when Boston left the Garden and went to the TD Garden, the organization wanted to re-retire Russell's jersey in front of a sellout audience. Russell gave his approval. In 1999, it was re-retired and all that. Bill Russell is an icon of Black America and of white America, and he's still alive and he's still celebrated. I'm Jeff Diamond, adult.